Hi, and welcome to Makerspace on Little or No Budget. In just a few short minutes, I'm going to share with you some of the ideas that I've had and the things that I've done with students K through 8, many of which are also adaptable to high school, that have required very few supplies and little or no budget. In fact, most of what we talk about today will be just from materials you can find in school almost every day. My name is Rebecca Weinkoop, and I am currently the teacher librarian at Robert Eaglestaff Middle School in Seattle, Washington. I am certainly on social media. If you haven't found me yet, please do. I am on your social media platform of choice. You can follow Eaglestaff LIB on Twitter, Instagram, or most recently on TikTok. You can also email me. My email is available, and you could check out our YouTube channel and see what's been going on in the Eaglestaff Library this year. We want to use this time to share a few ideas, probably some of which you've heard of. Sometimes we also get stuck in that rut where we just don't know what to do next, or we think that we have to have an Ozobot or a 3D printer or a laser cutter or snap circuits or fancy things in order to create maker stations that students can enjoy. The truth of the matter is, when we give students materials to manipulate, when we give them time, when we give them friends to be with, we often open up a world of possibilities in our maker stations. So we'll talk both about things that are simple and cheap or no cost. One of the simplest ideas is to provide opportunities for students to color in multiple ways. Obviously, you can just print up a coloring page. They're all available online. There's many you can choose from. You could even have students draw their own, which is pretty spectacular sometimes. We also have the option of coloring bookmarks, printing on a cardstock, providing, cute little ribbons or yarn at the top, and allowing students to color a bookmark or begin something, stick it in a book they've checked out, and carry it with them throughout the day is also a pretty great way to do this. In addition, one of my favorite adaptations of good old-fashioned coloring is to take a big, giant piece of poster paper, tape it up to our whiteboard, project an image from the document camera to make it nice and big. And then I usually have our library TAs, or I've done it a few times myself, and it doesn't take that long, where you simply trace onto the poster paper the image that you want to color, lay it out in a very public place in your library, and students will come and join each other and sit around and talk and color bits and pieces of these really large coloring pages. And it's a fantastic way to build community, to break down barriers sometimes students have between themselves and the library, and make something beautiful. In addition, there are quite a few options that you have for just using paper. Quite frankly, in libraries, if we're weeding, we often have access to old books or books we're not using anymore, which are a really great place to get supplies for Maker's Station items. In particular, this year was the first year that I had set up a Maker Station for blackout poetry. And I simply took a handful of books that we'd recently weeded from the library, took my own X-Acto knife and cut hundreds and hundreds of pages. I currently serve a student population just under 700 students, 6 through 8. We set out some instructions for blackout poetry and markers, and we just let students go at it. Many of them took their poems with them, taped them to different things, shared them with friends or teachers. In addition, we also created a bulletin board where we made a giant tree out of, quite frankly, the packing paper that came from a recent book order, made a giant tree, and I encouraged students to then post their poems on our poetry using the materials that we'd provided in this blackout poetry Maker's Station. In addition, there are some pretty low cost and quite frankly, not really technical ways in which we can continue to use paper to give students an opportunity to work together, to use their hands and to be creative. One, on the left-hand side, you'll see that prior to COVID, I had a volunteer that came in regularly. And this day, Ms. V was helping students create gift boxes that they were then going to share, put things in, cute little ideas, just an opportunity for them to fold, cut, tape, and be together while we were in the library. Lots of different things happened with those little gift boxes. And then one day for our do now, just coming on into class, the do now on the board was with the paper at your table, and this classmate sitting next to you, build the tallest structure you can. That was pretty fantastic. That one was super fun. Oftentimes we end up, with a few extra handouts here and there, and then you just cut them into similar size pieces, throw them on the table, and have at it. Really great way to, take this to the next step is to then even build in the next time different materials and talk about the ways in which we cooperated the first time. And now that we have, for example, spaghetti noodles and marshmallows, how could we build a stronger, bigger, taller tower together? Corner bookmarks are another paper-based item that's one of my favorites, because it takes a square piece of paper and markers at its simplest. And then if you want to get a little bit fancier, even just some scraps of construction paper. I know I'm a little bit of a hoarder in regards to wanting to keep things that I think I can use later, and construction paper, even the smallest pieces, are a perfect example of how we could do this. You can see there's an example here of the Baby Yoda corner bookmark, which really truly just took green paper, scissors, glue, and markers. And then you can see that students made their own. Some made snow cones and cookie monsters and cows and penguins and cats and pigs. There are tons of different options for how you could make corner bookmarks with students. And I still see students, we did this at the beginning of this year. I'm still seeing students with their corner bookmarks on their books when they come into the library, which is pretty exciting and fun to see. And last but not least, sometimes you just need one piece of paper. This piece of paper in particular is a larger 11 by 17 inch copy paper sized, and it's just a folded 8-page book or zine. And so again, you can see our lovely volunteer, Ms. V, here teaching students how to fold these. Quite frankly, you can make them with any size paper. The folds still work exactly the same. I found a super cute little page where you could draw different faces. Students like to do how-to books or write cute stories for their friends. And these were a big hit in our library. In addition, I want to talk a little bit about where you can get materials beyond what maybe is available in your school library for little or no cost. I use social media fairly extensively. Personally, on my Facebook account, which I don't use professionally, I am on both a Buy Nothing and a shared economy page on Facebook. And I love that I can just kind of follow that every now and then and check in and see, oh, look, here's somebody giving away stamps. Oh, look, here's somebody giving away ribbons and binding that they don't use for their sewing any longer. In addition, I definitely use our school's newsletter, and I use our social media to solicit donations, very specific donations, because we all know that when we ask for donations, we often can get more than we bargained for, or less quality than we had hoped for. And so some examples of the things that I have asked for and are using currently in our library are Legos. We, in middle school in particular, I think have a lot of kids who are kind of growing out of, or parents that are kind of done picking up after the Legos in the house. And it has been a fairly unlimited supply as far as asking families to donate big and small amounts of Legos to our library. We do have a Lego table that I'll share with you in just a little while. Yarn is always a great multi-purpose tool. Knitters and crafters and things are often out there buying more than they need or having leftovers. Scraps of yarn are great things to use for lots of different makerspace purposes. Craft supplies, definitely want to be, again, specific about what you're looking for. And then my favorite of all time are puzzles. I found this initially through a Buy Nothing group where a neighbor has a puzzle exchange on their porch. And that's when we started using puzzles in our library to just give students an opportunity to collaboratively, or if need be, independently work on something that was shared by many. Here's an example of our Lego table. We have two square tables that are low to the ground that sit. You can see these students on the left-hand side are kneeling or bending over these two tables. And I just took some scrap wood that we had around the house and built a frame around those two tables, and then laid a piece of wood over the top of that. And then I think for less than $25, I purchased online. There are square peel and stick Lego tiles, and you're able to cut them to the size that you need. And so we covered this Lego table with those peel and sticks, and the Lego table is used every single day in our library. It's been a fantastic low cost addition through both donations and a little bit of sweat equity in building that table. The Lego table has been great. I have a colleague in my school district who found in surplus an old chalkboard on wheels and converted that to a Lego wall by using the same peel and stick. So you have a lot of different options. You can make something that's permanent. You could make something that's removable. One of the things I like about our Lego table is that it just sits on top of our square side tables, and we can pop that off at any time if for some reason we need to. Legos are great. Kids love them. K-12, no doubt. We talked a little bit about craft supplies and yarn, just some examples of the things that we've used for different MakerStation items: ribbons, stamps, stickers, crafting scissors, yarn, thread, needles, crochet needles, knitting needles, sewing needles, beads, felt, scrapbook supplies. A couple of the examples here we made bookmark pom-poms in the top right. Below that is an example of our Valentine's Day, make your own Valentine's station, where we just put all of the things out that students might want to use, and they can get as creative as they'd like making Valentines. There is an example of another amazing former librarian and library volunteer, Lisa Keller. Lisa is fantastic and is one of the most creative people I know. And Lisa was coming in and helping guide our students through some felting that gave them opportunities. This one, it happens to be food. You can see there's pizzas and pancakes and fried eggs and donuts on the table. And then we did do an ugly sweater card one year, and using just scraps of paper from scrapbooking, we were able to give students an opportunity to kind of decorate their sweaters in a fun and different way. We did talk a little bit about our puzzles, and here are our puzzles. Just the idea that you can share and exchange, you can challenge each other. In Seattle schools, we often are in the middle of the Great SPS Puzzle Challenge, and where we challenge other schools to finish puzzles. We pass those puzzles around. When we finish one, we send out an email. Who wants the library puzzle? Who wants the dog puzzle? Who wants this puzzle? And it's been a really great way to build community across our schools. Beyond that, and in addition, we have staff who love to puzzle as well and are sharing their puzzles with us. We have done fingerprint art. Good old Ed Emberley is something that I remember doing as a child, and my kids did. And this was the first year that I had thought we should do fingerprint art, because I had a little pile of stamp pads and I just needed paper. So we grabbed some paper, made cards, found a few different options online, threw in a couple of puns, because who doesn't love a great pun, and just gave students the freedom and flexibility to build this. One tip and trick, if you are going to do this, either put like hand wipes right there. We happen to have some baby wipes that were donated. Those are perfect for wiping off washable ink on thumbs and fingers. It does make the table a little dirty, but it's washable ink, so it's easy to clean up after. This year, we also did pipe cleaner pumpkins. These are the most amazing things. I actually asked my student library TAs to create the instructions. You can see at the center, there's a pipe cleaner pumpkin tutorial step by step where they printed directions. We had thousands and thousands of pumpkins around our school for most of the month of October and November this year. And it's really great. Students were having fun giving them to their teachers and putting them on their backpacks and sharing them with their friends and getting really creative with colors, because there was a point at which the local Joann store ran out of, orange and green and brown pipe cleaners, and we had to just buy whatever we could. This is an example of a low cost item that I would highly recommend that you consider buying for a school makerspace. I do think that it's one of those consumables that, we made a lot of pumpkins, a lot of pipe cleaners went out the door, but boy, it was probably one of the funnest things we've done in my 5 years at Eagle Staff. In addition, we often set up card stations. I mentioned earlier, gratitude and love, our Valentine's Maker Station at the end of the year. Every year, we provide an opportunity for students to make thank you cards for staff or share notes of good wishes with their classmates. And we also, due to COVID, experimented with some virtual options, which I really enjoyed, thinking about what we could be doing with things we have around the house. So one of the items that we did was to take an old t-shirt and think about what we could make out of old t-shirts. Some of the examples were a shopping bag where literally you needed scissors and an old t-shirt. That was it. And you could make a shopping bag. We made dog toys. We made bracelets for friends with old t-shirts. And in addition, we did some Sharpie art with a virtual makers station. And this virtual maker station was grab a jar and some Sharpies, or grab a piece of foil and some Sharpies, and you can make just beautiful art using different colored Sharpies with that particular tool. I hope that this has given you some seedlings of some ideas for how you might be able to build some joy into your maker stations. You don't need a lot of space for most of these. A table, a corner, someplace where you can set up a little spot for supplies, and just really encourage everyone to take the time to provide an opportunity for your students to learn in different ways, including maker stations. Again, if you would like to get in touch with me, my email is here, and you can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. And just a real quick credit to Slidesmania for providing these amazing slides. I really enjoyed talking with you all about this, and I hope they've come with some new ideas. Thank you so much.